Chosen one, let me ask you something personal. What if what you're going through right now isn't just a storm, but a signal? What if the heaviness you're feeling is not a breakdown, but a spiritual awakening in disguise? That ache in your chest, that restlessness in your soul, it's not anxiety. It's God's whisper calling you deeper. You didn't stumble across this message by accident. Heaven drew you here. Because the season you're standing in isn't random, it's prophetic. You're not unraveling, you're unfolding. This is your edge of transformation moment, and the clarity you've been crying out for is about to break through. Here at Spiritual Journals, we speak to the soul. We cultivate mindfulness that anchors you and self-improvement that aligns you, not with the world's standards, but with God's plan. This video is not just content, it's confirmation. You'll walk away with renewed focus, revived faith, and the reminder that your story still carries glory. So if your spirit is stirring, if your heart is racing, if your tears are forming, subscribe to Spiritual Journals and turn on the notifications. Because we're not here to scroll past prophetic truth. We're here to carry it, live it, and share it. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for saying yes to this moment. This is more than a video. This is a turning point, and it starts with one bold step. You're not just watching, you're awakening. Let's walk this transformation together. 1. The signs of a deeper calling. You've been noticing the signs. Goosebumps in stillness, whispers in prayer, emotions rising at random. You think it's just your nerves, your imagination, or maybe even burnout. But the truth is, it's God. God is awakening you from spiritual autopilot. He's turning up the frequency because your spirit has been tuned too low for too long. That electric sensation? That's heaven brushing against your humanity. That restlessness? That's divine dissatisfaction. You're not broken, you're being rebuilt. It feels like a tug in your soul, doesn't it? Like you're being drawn into something deeper, something unexplainable. What if I told you that what you're feeling is the first sign of a calling? Moses felt it when he saw the burning bush. Samuel heard it when he was just a boy sleeping near the ark. Paul experienced it as a blinding light on the road to Damascus. Your signs might not look the same, but they carry the same weight, an invitation to transformation. This isn't coincidence, and it's certainly not an emotional breakdown. This is God calling your name in a frequency the world cannot hear. This is a motivational speech written in the language of the Spirit, a personal word tailored to your journey. And if you've ever had that moment when tears came from nowhere, or a song hit your soul differently, or a verse leapt off the page and straight into your heart, you know exactly what I mean. It's divine resonance. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. God is awakening the parts of you that religion tried to sedate. He's reigniting the dreams you buried beneath disappointment. This isn't just emotional sensitivity, it's spiritual sensitivity. Your soul knows something your mind hasn't caught up with yet. And yes, it can be uncomfortable. Transformation often is. It stretches us, presses us, sometimes isolates us. But here's the beauty. When God begins to move within you, it means He's about to move through you. That restlessness you feel isn't rejection, it's preparation. I remember a season in my life when I couldn't sleep. I wasn't worried, I wasn't stressed, but I kept waking up at 3 a.m. with a weight in my spirit. And instead of resisting it, I leaned in. I turned on worship music, I opened my Bible, and every time I did, I received clarity. Not all at once, but little by little. It was in those quiet, dark hours that God rebuilt my confidence, renewed my identity, and reminded me that He hadn't forgotten me. He was forming me.
The electric sensation wasn't nerves. It was heaven's voltage running through my veins. The restlessness wasn't fatigue. It was a divine whisper saying, "There's more." You're not alone in this. Elijah thought he was alone in the cave. He was tired, overwhelmed, convinced his purpose was over. But in that moment, God didn't shout. He didn't send an earthquake or a fire. He sent a whisper, a still, small voice. And it was that whisper that led Elijah back to his assignment with new clarity and strength. What if that's what God is doing for you? What if that spiritual sensitivity is the signal that something holy is coming near? What if you're being invited into a season of realignment, not because you were off track, but because He wants you fully tuned in? Maybe you've been walking through life with a mask of strength, smiling while silently screaming. But God is peeling back the layers, not to shame you, but to shape you. Not to expose your weakness, but to reveal your worth. This is your personal revival. And when you feel like the only one noticing these changes, don't be discouraged. That's the isolation of consecration. God often calls you away before He calls you ahead. He wants your full attention, not your filtered version. He wants your yes without conditions, your trust without knowing every step. So, how do you respond to this divine stirring? Through prayer. Honest, unfiltered, unpretentious prayer. Not performance, just presence. Just you and God. Lay it all down. Ask Him to make sense of what feels like chaos. Invite Him into your discontentment. He'll show you that it's not frustration, it's formation. Say this with me. God, I don't want to numb what you're trying to awaken. I surrender the parts of me that are afraid to change. Give me the courage to become who you see when you look at me. And if your spirit is bearing witness right now, if your heart is pounding, if your tears are rising, if something inside you is shouting, "This is for me," then I want you to comment below, "I feel the shift and I receive the rebuild." That comment isn't for me. It's for heaven. It's for alignment. It's a written prayer that signals your readiness. Because sometimes all it takes is one bold declaration to activate the next chapter. Remember this, beloved. God is not ignoring you. He's igniting you. You were never meant to stay in survival mode. You were meant to shine. And no matter how quiet the world may be, your calling is still loud in the halls of heaven. This is your moment. This is your rebuild. And it starts now.
2. Divine disruption is holy transformation. Some of you are looking at your lives and asking, why hasn't anything changed? But heaven is whispering back, I've been changing you. Before God alters your situation, He always alters your spirit. You wanted new doors. God gave you new discernment. You prayed for favor. God gave you fire. You asked for a shift, and now your soul is shifting first. You've been asking God to fix the chaos around you, but He's been focused on the construction within you. Because heaven understands what we often resist. If you change the outside without healing the inside, the blessing becomes a burden. This is where Christian mental health meets Christian motivation. God is healing you at the root so your fruit can last. He's not just concerned with what you're producing, He's invested in what you're becoming. That emotional heaviness, the questioning, the stretching, it's the Spirit confronting old wounds that can't go with you into your next. In my own life, I used to cry out, God, make a way, open a door, change this circumstance. But what He changed first was me. He made me confront my fears. He held up a mirror to my soul. And He said, until you see yourself the way I see you, I can't release what I have for you. That shift saved me from self-sabotage.
It taught me that sometimes the answer to our biggest prayer isn't deliverance from a situation, but deliverance from an identity that no longer fits. Transformation is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like sitting still in the presence of God when everything in you wants to run. Sometimes it sounds like worshiping through tears when your heart is breaking. Sometimes it feels like pruning, the cutting away of what is no longer fruitful. God is not being silent to frustrate you. He's being strategic to fortify you. He is not punishing you. He is preparing you. And in this preparation, He is mending what anxiety tore, lifting what depression buried, and realigning what fear distorted. This is divine therapy for the soul. Christian mental health means acknowledging that healing and faith are not enemies. It's okay to love Jesus and still need healing. It's holy to admit you're tired, and it's even more powerful to let God renew your mind. Romans 12:2 reminds us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, not just your circumstances, your mind. Because once your mind is free, your destiny is unstoppable. This is why the transformation is internal before it ever becomes external. So many people want the promise but reject the process. But if God gave you what you asked for too soon, it would crush you. He loves you too much to elevate you before He strengthens you. So He uses the secret place, the quiet seasons, the uncomfortable stretching, all to build something in you that can carry the weight of His blessing. So I encourage you today not to despise the divine disruption. Lean into it, journal through it, fast with intention, worship even when it hurts. Start that Christian motivation playlist and let the truth of God sing over your soul. Spend 5 minutes a day praying bold, vulnerable prayers. Ask God questions. Let Him answer in ways that shift your atmosphere. And if you know deep down that this word is touching something raw in your spirit, I want you to comment, I welcome the disruption. I trust the transformation. Because this declaration unlocks something in the unseen realm. It tells heaven you're ready. It tells hell you're not backing down. And it tells your soul, we are not who we were. You are becoming. And the shift isn't just happening to you, it's happening for you. Heaven is not late. You are right on time.
3. Unconventional paths, undeniable purpose. You thought the delays meant denial. You thought the reroutes meant rejection. But what if I told you that your detours were actually divine? The pain wasn't pointless. The confusion wasn't a curse. The closed doors weren't sabotage. They were all setups. God is the master of unconventional stories. He takes misfits and gives them mantles. He uses your lowest valleys to build the highest altars. You were never off track. You were in training. Because heaven doesn't run on human timelines. And what feels like too late in your mind is still right on time in God's. This is where the growth mindset of the kingdom comes alive. In the natural, we're taught to avoid failure, dodge pain, and pursue convenience. But in the kingdom, pain is a teacher. Detours or invitations, setbacks become sanctuaries where God rewrites our narrative. Joseph was anointed king as a teenager, but spent years running from Saul. That wasn't delay, that was development. I used to believe God forgot about me because my plans kept falling apart. I would pray, dream, move forward, only to be redirected again and again. But it was during one of those pauses, when my hands were empty and my heart was frustrated, that I heard God clearly say, I'm not denying you, I'm defining you. It shifted my entire mindset. Suddenly, I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is God building in me through this?
The Bible shows us that most of the people used powerfully by God didn't take the obvious path. Joseph went from the pit to Potiphar's house to prison before he ever saw the palace. Esther was hidden in a harem before being crowned queen. Paul wrote some of his most powerful epistles from a prison cell. Unconventional doesn't mean unqualified. It means anointed. Maybe you feel stuck in a wilderness season, like you took a wrong turn or missed your moment. But what if the wilderness is actually where you were meant to receive your greatest revelations? Jesus himself was led by the Spirit into the wilderness before he began his ministry. It was there that his identity was tested and his authority solidified. So let me speak this truth to your heart. You are not lost. You are being led. The growth mindset of a believer says, even when I don't see it, God is working. Even when I don't understand it, I will still trust. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all our hearts and lean not on our own understanding. In all our ways, if we acknowledge Him, He will direct our paths, even if those paths feel unconventional. The enemy wants you to believe that the reroute was a rejection. But God says, I closed that door because it was beneath your calling. He is not trying to frustrate you, He is trying to favor you. And sometimes favor looks like frustration before it looks like fulfillment. Adopt a growth mindset rooted in the Bible. Use the delay to sharpen your gifts. Use the wilderness to cultivate worship. Use the pain to build persistence. Journal what God is showing you. Declare scriptures over your situation. Start a vision board for the next season. Don't wait until a blessing arrives to prepare. Prepare now by faith. I challenge you to look at every setback through the lens of Romans 8:28, which tells us that all things, yes, that thing you didn't expect, work together for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. That includes broken timelines, unanswered prayers, and redirected plans. You are in a holy setup. You are being refined, not rejected. God is not trying to frustrate you. He is trying to favor you. And sometimes favor looks like frustration before it looks like fulfillment. Adopt a growth mindset rooted in the truth of God's Word. Use the delay to sharpen your gifts. Use the wilderness to cultivate worship. Use the pain to build persistence. Journal what God is showing you. Declare scriptures over your situation. Start a vision board for the next season. Don't wait until a blessing arrives to prepare. Prepare now by faith. I challenge you to look at every setback through the lens of Romans 8:28, which tells us that all things, yes, that thing you didn't expect, work together for good for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. That includes broken timelines, unanswered prayers, and redirected plans. You are in a holy setup. You are being refined, not rejected. God is not trying to frustrate you. He is trying to favor you. And sometimes favor looks like frustration before it looks like fulfillment. So lift your head, open your heart, trust the detour, embrace the growth, and get ready to walk into a purpose that only the unconventional path could have prepared you for. The master storyteller hasn't finished writing. You're still in the middle of a miracle.
4. Obedience that heaven has noticed. Let me speak to the ones who kept going, who didn't compromise when it would have been easier, who stayed silent when retaliation would have been justified, who stayed faithful when nothing made sense. Heaven noticed. Your obedience wasn't wasted. Your tears were not invisible. Your silent yes was louder than any public applause. And now, beloved, a shift is being announced in the Spirit. The heavens are echoing, well done. And what you've carried in private is about to be confirmed in public. This is your confirmation. This is your spiritual awakening. I know some of you are exhausted. You kept showing up, you kept praying, kept giving, kept believing while walking through fire. but you never stopped, and God kept score. Christian inspiration isn't just for mountaintop moments. It's born in the valleys, in the quiet yes when no one is watching, in the midnight tears when worship becomes a whisper, in the faithful obedience when no results appear. That's where warriors are formed. Let me remind you of Noah. He built an ark with no rain in sight. Obedience looked foolish to everyone around him, but when the skies opened, it was Noah's obedience that became the bridge to salvation. Obedience rarely makes sense in the moment, but it always makes history in the kingdom. And maybe you felt like your efforts have gone unnoticed. You've wondered if your obedience matters in a world that rewards shortcuts and spotlight. But beloved, heaven's measurement is not likes or shares, it's obedience. And the Bible tells us in Galatians 6:9, do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you will reap if you do not give up. There is a due season on the horizon. You may not see it yet, but something is breaking open. Your obedience has been the seed, and God has been watering it with grace, favor, and heavenly timing. I remember a time I stayed faithful to something God told me long before it made sense. I kept serving, I kept sowing, I kept praying even when the doors remained closed. People asked why I was still trying, and all I could say was, God hasn't released me yet. And then one day, quietly but powerfully, He did. Not just with open doors, but with overwhelming confirmation. What had been silent for years was suddenly bursting with fruit. And in that moment, I understood. God rewards the hidden yes, the slow faith, the humble consistency. Some of you have obeyed in areas where others compromised. You walked away from deals that looked good but weren't God. You loved difficult people without expecting anything in return. You forgave when it was easier to hold a grudge. You stayed pure when everyone else normalized compromise. That wasn't small. That was sacred. And now, the shift is here. A spiritual awakening is happening within you. The things you endured are turning into wisdom. The tests you passed in silence are about to become testimonies of grace. I want to speak to your heart today and say this clearly. Heaven has seen it all. The sacrifices, the obedience, the times you said no to the world and yes to God. And the reward is not just coming, it's already in motion. This is your season of visibility, not for your ego, but for His glory. What was grown in private is being revealed in public, and it's not for applause, it's for alignment. Because God is raising up a remnant who don't need a stage to stay faithful, who don't need a platform to stay pure, who will serve even when unseen. And if that's you, I want you to write this in the comments. Heaven saw me. I stayed faithful. That comment is a key, a declaration, a posture of expectation. You're not asking for reward. You're agreeing with heaven that obedience matters. And when you declare it, something shifts in your atmosphere. You see, Christian inspiration flows from consistent obedience. It's the soil of every revival. It's the fire behind every testimony. And when obedience meets spiritual awakening, transformation happens, not just around you, but within you. You're not who you were when you first said yes. Your spiritual muscles have grown. Your discernment has deepened. Your love is purer. Your worship is weightier. You've become a walking altar. And that's why the enemy fought you so hard. Not because of what you did, but because of what your obedience was birthing. Hell fears a faithful believer. So don't stop now. Don't grow weary. Don't question if it was worth it. Heaven is shouting, well done. And the Spirit is stirring, get ready. Because what you carried in private is about to carry you into public purpose. The oil on your life wasn't cheap. It was crushed out of you through seasons of surrender. But now, it will anoint every room you step into.
People will wonder how you endured, and you'll simply smile and say, God saw me, and I stayed faithful. This is not just a reward. This is a release. Your spiritual awakening has already begun. So lift your head, open your hands, receive the blessing, and walk boldly into the next chapter. Because obedience wasn't just your posture. It was the prophecy that unlocked your promise.
Number 5, you are on the edge of transformation. This moment you're in, it's not ordinary, it's not random, it's prophetic. The dissatisfaction in your spirit, that's not depression, it's divine preparation. You are being pulled toward your becoming. You're standing in the threshold of breakthrough. And it won't be subtle, it won't be quiet. The shift that's coming will affirm your identity, validate your pain, and align you with purpose. God is not only opening doors, He's changing your DNA. Your discernment is sharpening, your cravings are shifting, your atmosphere is changing. And no, you're not losing your mind, you're shedding your mask. Because you were never meant to just survive this season, you were meant to emerge from it transformed. Right now, you may feel like everything is coming undone. But what if the unraveling is actually the revealing? What if God is peeling away what was never part of His plan for you? That ache you feel in your spirit, the longing, the tension, the stretch, isn't weakness. It's evidence that something sacred is being born inside of you. It's the groaning that comes before new birth. Biblical truth reminds us over and over that great transformation always follows moments of disruption. Think of Jacob, wrestling with God through the night, refusing to let go. When the dawn came, he didn't just have a blessing, he had a new name, a new identity, a limp that marked him. What changed him wasn't external. It was the moment he encountered God in the tension and surrendered. That's what God is doing in you. He's changing how you walk. He's adjusting your posture. You're walking out of this season with a new name. The shame you once carried will be replaced with divine authority. The fear you once obeyed will be silenced by boldness. This is not breakdown, it's breakthrough. I remember when I went through a season that felt like pure confusion. Plans were failing, connections were ending, and I felt like I had no voice left in prayer. But one night, I sat still. No music, no agenda, just my broken spirit before the Lord. And the whisper I heard that night changed everything. This is not where it ends. This is where I'm beginning in you. That night, something lifted. Not my circumstance, but my perspective. I began to see that my discontentment wasn't punishment. It was preparation. That frustration wasn't failure. It was faith stretching. And that has become one of the greatest gifts, a clearer lens to see God's plan even when I don't understand it. There's a transformation happening in you that no one sees yet, but heaven sees it, and soon it will manifest in ways that cannot be ignored. You are being groomed for greater, pruned for purpose, refined for release. Biblical truth gives us this promise in Isaiah 43:19. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? New things don't always feel good at first. They often start in hidden places, beneath the surface of visibility. But they are holy, they are necessary, and they are happening. Here's a new idea I want to challenge you with. Don't just wait for transformation. Co-labor with it. Partner with what heaven is trying to birth in you. Create space for solitude. Journal the patterns of your soul. Speak the word of God aloud over your life. Practice silence so you can hear what noise often drowns out. Sit in nature and listen to creation speak of God's majesty. These are not distractions. They are spiritual practices that align your senses with the sacred. And if your heart is burning right now, if something deep inside of you knows this is speaking directly to where you are, I want you to comment below, I'm not at my end, I'm at my edge. That comment is more than a sentence. It's a declaration, a holy agreement with the shift God is doing in your life. And heaven responds when faith rises like that. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming who you were always meant to be.
The version of you that was written in God's plan long before life tried to rewrite your story. The version of you that walks in boldness, not burnout. The version that sees in the Spirit, not through fear. This is your divine metamorphosis. And like the caterpillar that once crawled, you are entering your cocoon, not to be buried, but to be born again in power. When you emerge, you will fly. You will see from higher dimensions. You will no longer settle for ground-level living. Let me prophesy this over you. The shift will be undeniable. The peace will be unshakable. The joy will be unspeakable, because God's plan for you has always been bigger than your current storm. The enemy tried to distract you with discouragement, but God used it to sharpen your discernment. The enemy wanted you stuck in sorrow, but God is using that sorrow to build strength. You are not stuck. You are being stirred. And when this transformation comes to full bloom, the very places that broke you will become the platforms where you bless others. You will look back not with regret, but with reverence, because the pain had a purpose, the delay had direction, and your obedience had a reward. So rise, beloved, shake off the dust, lift up your eyes. The edge you're standing on is not a cliff, it's a launch pad. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. This is not collapse, it's calling. This is transformation, and it's happening now.
Before you go, let me speak this over your spirit with deep gratitude. Thank you for making space in your day to lean into this word. You didn't just consume content, you opened your heart to confirmation. And that choice will not be unnoticed by heaven. If this stirred something inside of you, don't let the moment pass. Like this message as a personal act of agreement that your transformation has begun. You're not going back, you're moving forward with clarity and courage. And if your spirit is saying yes, drop a comment below. This is not collapse, this is my calling. That declaration might seem small, but it's how faith takes form. It's how heaven reads your alignment. Subscribe to spiritual journals if you know you're not just on a journey of content, you're on a path of spiritual growth. We create space here, not just for motivation, but for guided meditation and reflection that awakens your soul and revives your mind. And when you subscribe and turn on notifications, you're not only strengthening your walk, you're helping spread God's word to someone else who needs it just as much. I'm truly thankful for every listener, every heart that stayed through this message. You are a vital part of this prophetic movement. Let me bless you as we close. Father, thank you for the one watching. Thank you for their surrender. I declare alignment over confusion, breakthrough over delay, and purpose over pain. May their steps be ordered, their heart protected, and their future blessed. In Jesus' name, amen.